Hello, today we're in the Informational Text Learning Target Packet. We're going to focus on the following essential questions. Number 1, how do readers know what to believe? Number 2, how do strategic readers make meaning from informational text? Number 4, what is informational text really about? And number 5, how does interaction with text provoke thinking and response? So today we are participating in our final close reading for the 9 weeks. We are looking at a piece you read using reading strategies last week and that we already close read for different learning targets yesterday. Today we are close reading a new section from Women in Aviation, and we're going to look at the text by reading it over 3 different times. The first time we read it is for what the text says, the second time is for how the text says it, and the third time is for why the text matters. Each phase of the reading is going to connect to different learning targets. So let's talk first about phase 1, reading it for what the text says. When we read the section for what the text says, yesterday we discussed and looked at a couple central ideas that we found within the text as a whole. We determined those central ideas as 1, women pursued their dream of flight even in the face of sexist assumptions, and 2, African American women pursued their dream of flight even in the face of negative racial assumptions. That was from yesterday's reading. Today we're going to sort of extend that, and we're going to look for a claim in the specific section that we're close reading. This ties in our learning target packet to learning target number 2, to make claims in the form of inferences, conclusions, and generalizations drawn from textual evidence. Remember, that means we say that pieces have multiple claims. So they have multiple claims within a text. The claims are not directly stated in 7th grade. We talked about that too. We talked about how you sort of have to read through an entire section, synthesize, process it, and put what that claim is in your own words. All claims are going to connect back to our central ideas in the text. So that's why you want to make sure you think about what the section of the text today has to do with these 2 central ideas. Which central idea does it seem to most closely associate it? And how can we develop a claim that is a little more specific to that section that connects to one of these central ideas? In addition to developing a claim in your group, I want you to also take time to summarize the paragraph so that way you know what, in fact, the text is about. In our second phase of reading, we're going to start looking at the structure of the text. One of the structural elements in this text is quoted evidence. In fact, within the text, you'll notice that they use what we call a block quote. Notice how this paragraph is indented a little bit further. We call that a block quote. It's a style structurally of quoted evidence. So when you read through during phase 2 for how the text is set up, you need to make sure that you're looking at and focusing in on your quoted evidence. I want you to think about how the use of the quoted evidence contributes to the development of the author's ideas. This connects to learning target number 19, to analyze the structure the author uses to organize the text by how major sections of the text contribute to the development of the author's ideas. In this case, the major section we're looking at is the quoted evidence and the block quotes. Remember, we said this means to look closely at how the information within the text is organized, specific paragraphs and sections, for the way that those particular paragraphs or sections help the author add detail, grow, or change their ideas presented in their claims. Within your response to this, I want you to make sure that you include and begin in the following way. You can say the section uses quoted evidence to explain, convince, illustrate, suggest, describe, reveal, provide, or show something particular that they want us to see about their claim. This also ties in to learning target number 1. As you begin your response, I want you to make sure that you quote proof from the passage, quote a piece of text evidence to help support your answer for why you think that, or how you think that evidence, in fact, helps the text. In phase 3, we are looking for why the text matters. Within this phase, we're focusing on the author's evidence again, but now we're going to evaluate it. I want you to focus on the evidence as being sufficient to support the claim that you came up with during phase 1 of the reading. As we talked with this target in the past, remember that this target is learning target 14, to assess whether the evidence given in the text is sufficient to support the argument in specific claims. We said that's to make a judgment about whether the evidence, the facts and details included, is enough to support the argument in the text. We talked about how you may see these questions worded, and how you're going to always start with no, it's not sufficient because, or yes, it is sufficient because. But we didn't talk about look-fors. And that's going to be the extension that we talk about today. A lot of you had asked for look-fors. So if, in fact, yes, the evidence is sufficient, a first look-for is the amount of evidence that's on topic to the claim in the section. Do they have a good amount of evidence on topic to the claim? Then yes, it's probably sufficient. Also look for, is the evidence given detailed and specific to on topic to the claim? So for it to be a yes, we need to make sure that what we came up with for the claim in phase 1, all that evidence is actually on topic to it. It's detailed, it's specific, they have a good amount, but it's on topic to the given claim. If the evidence is not sufficient, that means they don't have enough evidence included maybe. It also means the evidence might not even be on topic to the claim. Maybe it doesn't connect to the claim that they are explaining within that paragraph. So those are your look-fors in order to answer phase 3 of this section. The question is asking, is the evidence sufficient to support the claim? You want to begin your response with no, the evidence is not sufficient because, or yes, it is because, and use one of those look-fors to help create the answer, as well as use learning target number 1, text evidence. Cite one piece of text evidence that would support why you do believe that the evidence is sufficient or is not sufficient to support the text. We will take some time after you complete all 3 phases of today's close reading to discuss each section together. Remember, tomorrow is your unit assessment, where we look and dive into some cold read passages that connect to all of the close reading questions that we've covered this 9 weeks. Please be ready for that. You are welcome to read over in Actively Learn on your own the questions that we've covered throughout the entire 9 weeks to better prepare for the question styles. Also take the time to review your learning target packets for both literature and informational text, because all learning targets that we've covered this 9 weeks will be shown through questions on tomorrow's unit assessment. So go ahead and get working on today's activity.